Hello, everyone. Part two. This is for real. I'm actually not kidding. This is part two.
Mhm.
Did you want me to start talking to them about from the fertile side of it?
Yes,
Okay.
that would be great.
So I represent the reproductive years. Simi represents the postmenopausal years. And it's perfect because it actually matters
Mhm.
in your exercise regimens. And so the reason we wanted to split this up into the two videos is because it's pretty specific what we're talking about. So I'm actually talking about like a good exercise schedule for women in their reproductive years. Now, I don't know how many of you have heard of the circadian rhythm. Everyone, if you were on our last call, if you weren't, no, I'm kidding. Okay, so we all know that there's the circadian rhythm, which is a daily cycle based off of, time outside. We women are so wonderful and complex and beautiful. And we were created with another biological rhythm called the infradian rhythm. Infradian rhythm. Has anybody heard of that? If you have, yes, Cindy.
She told me about it.
Okay. Infradian. Yes, Danielle, you spelled it properly. So the infradian rhythm is active in a woman from the time she starts her first bleed. So the first time you get your cycle to your very last bleed. And it is all based off of your hormone, like your menstrual cycle. So you have the follicular phase, the ovulatory phase, the luteal phase, and then your menstrual phase when you're bleeding, right? These are the different, and a lot of us have heard of some of this, and some of us have only ever been educated on the fact that we ovulate and we bleed. Some of us just don't know. And that's why I wanted to bring this up, because I've actually recently in the last 2 months really gotten a hold of this, and it makes a lot of sense. And that's why I kind of wanted to share this in here, because you could actually hurt yourself if you do certain exercises in the wrong phase of your cycle. So I just wanted to, and a lot of this information, if you are someone who really wants to read up on this, and I really recommend, if you are a mama or if you're in your reproductive years, Danielle always wants to know more. Oh wait, did you have a question, Ruth? She raised her hand.
I think she just wanted to say,
yes, me. Okay, good. Alisa Vitti, Alisa Vitti, Vitti, she wrote a book called In the Flow. And she also wrote a book called something about womanhood. I can't remember, but In the Flow is the one that you would want to read. And it talks about how to basically biohack as a woman, like take the greatest advantage of each phase of your cycle, because it changes. The follicular phase is that first, right after you are done bleeding, those first 10 to 14 days after you're bleeding is your follicular phase. And that's when you can do your harder exercises like running, biking, dance, rebounding, really strenuous exercises. It's after right after you had your cycle is when you would want to enter into those more intense workouts. And that's the season that your brain is actually wired for new things. This is all connected to our brain, our reproductive system, the whole thing. Just like circadian rhythm operates that way for men, for women, we have both. So we got to get in sync with both.
Yes, and listen to this very carefully, because we've been raised by media, universities, everything has been done by men, right, in their cycle. We have a different cycle.
Yeah.
So running and doing all that stuff at a certain age is okay. Yeah. Then after 40 is not okay. You switch things from being cardio more into strengthening, like weights and things like that. So pay attention, because there's another good Dr. Mindy Pelz. She just got a book out that is called Fasting Like a Girl. And she goes into those things, we even hear about fasting is for males. All the different things that it's not that, and I see for males, I'm not saying that only men fast, but the way they say to fast is not done according to our cycles.
Right.
And there are times that we need to fast or eat different things that is
Right.
different for men. Men can eat the same thing every single day of
They
their
only
life.
have the circadian rhythm. Yeah.
Yeah, so go ahead.
Yeah. So anyways, these are some of the points that I wanted to give you guys. First of all, your resting blood sugar level fluctuates during the cycle, like during this entire infradian rhythm. So I might be in follicular phase and my blood sugar's one way, but then I get into the second half of my cycle, which is after ovulation. That would be luteal and when I'm actually bleeding, and my blood sugar's totally different. And some of you might even notice this without realizing it, but it's like I had the ocular migraine yesterday. Well, I told Simi, I said, oh, I know it was a hormonal shift because my body, I just got finished ovulation phase and I'm in the luteal phase, and the levels of estrogen and the levels of progesterone trying to shift. If I haven't supported my body well enough to flush excess estrogen, then of course I'm going to be more prone to PMS symptoms or migraine type symptoms. So there are different exercises you can do to help flush excess estrogen or even excess cortisol, things like that. We need different workout links and different times for different phases. And this is stuff, like she said, you don't hear people talk about. We only hear about that power morning that men wake up, slay away. But guess what? Men all night long are building up testosterone. They wake up at the peak of the morning. They have such high testosterone. That's the best thing. Yes, it's the best thing for them to get up and power through an exercise, do that's why the business world is centered all around that. Why do you think at happy hour, 3 to 5, it's because that's when men's testosterone's coming to the lower levels. They don't have energy when they come home, they're done. So anyway, I wanted to say that you sweat more during certain phases when you need to flush excess estrogen. So how many of you notice, like, oh my goodness, I'm actually really sweaty right now, and I know it's because I'm flushing excess estrogen because I'm in my luteal phase. And when your hormones are at their lowest level, it's best to do active rest and recovery. Things like what we've talked about, movements that even people who may have opportunities need to do, like just stretching, deep breathing movements, mindful movements that are more like, I'm intuitive, this feels really good to my body, versus just slaying away and doing a HIIT workout because that's what the culture is telling us to do. So during your luteal phase, this is like a tip, your basal metabolic rate, your BMR is what they refer to it as, it rises 10 to 20%, which means you're going to burn more calories at rest. So right now, I'm in my luteal phase. Like I said, I'm just sitting here and I'm sweating. I am burning a lot of calories even as I rest, which that means it's important, if we know that I'm not doing an additional really hard workout today because I'm already just in rest, burning calories. And actually, this is when Elisa Vitti, the hormone expert, says you would want to increase like your calorie intake by like 300 calories. And this is when intuitively, Simi even talked about last month, you would eat more like bread, grains.
Because you're making progesterone.
Yes.
You're preparing the baby.
Yes.
That's bad for the baby to sleep in if you get pregnant.
Yeah.
But if you don't, then that baby has to shed out and breathe.
Yes, and you make your body's literally making a new organ.
Yeah.
Like, can you? It's like the same thought about we're creating a baby when we're pregnant. It's insane to think about. Like, I'm constantly building something. My body is constantly working, even when I'm asleep. And it's so important that we don't add additional stress with the wrong form of movement. And that's why I just wanted to touch on this. It says that increased exercise during the luteal phase can actually turn up fat storage
Mhm.
and increase muscle wasting. So have you ever heard a friend of yours that's like, I've been doing this boot camp every day for 3 months, and if anything, I've gained more weight? Like, it's because they actually are. They've put their body in such a stress mode place that their body's turned on fat storage and muscle wasting. That's the opposite of what we want.
Right.
So we can biohack, we can work with our cycles the way God intended it. I thank him that he kind of created it to where we can kind of rest, because I actually don't feel like doing anything when I'm on my period, really. I mean, stretching actually does feel good, but I mean, other than that, there's days I really just want to lay and let it pass, you know?
Talking about that, stretching feels great if you keep it.
Mhm.
Like if I'm going to stretch, let's say, I'm gonna stretch my shoulders. So I'm gonna bring my arm here and I'm holding and I'm stretching this part right now, right?
Mhm.
So I'm holding it here. You need to breathe into it.
Mhm.
It's not like, let's see if I can head. And that hurts and that will damage your muscles.
Yeah.
Now, if you're trying to build and you're under 40 years old, go for it. You will rip, and then that bulks the muscle. That's how you make muscle, is by ripping your muscle strands and creating more. But if we want to stretch, so you stretch here and you breathe into it at least 3 times. And you look at that.
Mhm.
It went
It pulls
farther.
further. Mhm.
And I didn't push, I didn't pull, I just stretched. Why? Because as I'm doing this, my body's saying like, that's a little uncomfortable.
Resistance.
And that creates endorphins. Endorphins is your natural painkiller. So when you are in pain and you do that stretch, you can bring your knee up to your chest, and then you just hold there and you bring your other knee, and then you bring both knees. You turn around and just bend over. When you do all that and you're holding, you're creating endorphins, and that will ease the pain. But it also, as it stretches those muscles, you will feel better. It helps your
Flexibility. I mean,
flexibility. It fells your limbic. You
Mhm.
actually feel better
Mhm.
because you're also creating serotonin. You're also creating oxytocin.
Well,
I
and-
call them DOES, DOES. So you create
dopamine,
dopamine, O,
oxytocin,
E. This is
serotonin.
endorphin. E, E, E.
You said S.
No, E,
Endorphins.
endorphin. And S,
Serotonin.
yes, yes. So when you have DOES, you have your happy hormones, and that just makes you feel well,
So
you know, and good, and
Yes.
just
When I was in, I used to be a group fitness trainer, and they probably changed, you know, research always changes different things, but that was one of the things to be able to pass my test. We actually had to lead a class and then lead a cool down. And if you didn't hold a stretch for at least 30 seconds, like you didn't pass, because they're like, you need a beneficial, you know. But this was for a cool down. So it's probably very different too when you're just doing the stretching movement.
it's about the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you,
But a good 3
Mhm.
breaths is a
it's
good
about
30 seconds. Yeah.
So, you know, I got it. I'm very practical. That is what books say. My head is like,
Breath work.
yes, let me find a way that I can do this and
Yes.
increase my breathing and slow my brain. That's a way to slow down. My body goes on go, 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 go
Me
all the
too.
time.
Me too.
I am not a brake. I'm a pedal. So
My husband's my brain.
breathing slowly.
You know,
slows me
Brent's
down.
very slow. Very like,
Yeah.
come on, kids, let's go. We got to get to Papa's house. I felt like that's what I was doing. And we got in the car. I was like, everybody breathe. It's okay. I'm sorry. I rushed you. You know, my kids are being babysat while we're doing this. So
Yes, so she gave you the before 40. I'm gonna give you after 40.
oh yeah, and I'm almost done. I'm just gonna say this. Follicular
You're
phase. I know we're almost done. Follicular phase, running, biking, dance, rebounding. during your ovulation, that's when your testosterone's at its highest. So if you're into HIIT workout, that's when you would do it. But that's the only time. And it's like a 3-day window. So just know, really HIIT workout isn't for women. That's when you would do, Soul Cycle boot camp, whatever it is, some really good, strong, heavy lifting weights if you want. And then your luteal phase is when you would strength train. That's like that gentle lifting of weights. Pilates, bar, stretch, and then your menstrual is really just rest, gentle stretching. So that's napping, walking. Okay, so on to the next.
So in one of the ways that you can also do HIIT, because it does feel good. I'm that
You could do a modified. Everything can be modified.
Right. And like you can walk, and what you do is you keep a good speed as you're walking, not just leisurely, but you can kind of like you're in a hurry, you need to get someplace, so you're walking a little fast. But then just like for a minute, walk as fast as you can. Just walk and move your arms, and a minute later, just keep walking normal. That is a type of HIIT.
Yes,
that
it is.
It's
I'm glad
not
you said that.
that it's not like
Yes.
intense to hurt
Because
you,
we can't
but
throw the baby out with the bathwater. But
right.
what we're really referring to when we say HIIT is like what these men
Yeah.
and like some of these power exercise. I mean, I know there's women, influencers out there that are, showing their ripped bodies, and they're like, I did all these power lifts and I did this and I did that. And you're like, oh my goodness. Like, yeah. And you're like, actually, I'm not a man. We need to get back into our feminine bodies. And part of it, we've talked about this. It's a lot of the feminine movement, or the feminism, feminist.
Yeah, feminist.
I'm trying to talk about it in the wrong way, but feminists,
Yeah.
we want to be so much like a man, and we're equal to men, that, oh, okay, well, here's your workouts then, like, here's your research. Well, actually, none of that research has been done on women that are in their fertile years. It's all been on like men and some postmenopausal, which she's going to go into,
Yeah.
and the
because-
brain workouts too.
Yes, we're going to do some brain too. So what happens is after 40, the organ that creates your hormones is your adrenal glands. So after that,
you are going to have very low collagen. You're pretty much, that's when we get wrinkles. Is because we start producing less and less collagen, and we need it, because I've always thought, collagen so that I don't get wrinkled. Well, it's more than that. Collagen keeps everything a little bit more fluid, and it keeps you from hurting yourself, because this brain of mine doesn't know that I'm 62. My brain thinks I'm still 20. So when I want to stretch, I normally can put my head on my knees. Well, and I can do it really forceful. But at this age, I can't do it forceful. I have to be
Walk
I
your
can-
fingers.
Yes, and go slow. I can still put my head on my knee, but not wah, wah, like I used to do. And then I'm like,
Tiffany, you're
and
so
I can't
tall.
move.
It's so funny to think about you. You're just so tall. Like, just stretching. Sorry.
times after COVID, when we were sitting so much, and
Oh.
I stopped moving, because I did home visitation. So I'm going, loading my car, unloading my car, getting on the carpet, playing with kids, getting up, and again, next house, and doing that over and over. I kept my body very flexible.
Yeah.
Well, after COVID, I'm doing everything through Zoom. I'm sitting down like this. My hips got tight. So when I would do that, my back would go out. And I'm like, oh, give me a break. So I'm back on the chiropractor. And then for 2 weeks, I can't do anything because I'm recuperating. And when I said shallow breathing, when you're just breathing like that, because my hands were here or on my phone, I didn't like really move to fill my lungs. Well, my ribs would go out of whack, because all of a sudden I would stretch to do something and there it went.
Mm.
I don't have enough collagen. So you have to think about those things. There is collagen. I had somebody put their bone broth. I didn't see who it was, but you know, that is excellent. There's collagen in powder. You can put it on your coffee. You can put it on your water. You can put it on your, smoothie. You know, we just need it. We don't produce it anymore.
And
So
that's
we need it.
also why, like what you're talking about, the weakness in your back and stuff, that's the whole reason why it's so important.
Especially at your age, but even our age, it is strength training, like actually lifting. Think of how women were designed to be able to lift babies, and we lift big grocery. We used to lift water, and we were the ones doing all that heavy lifting work way back in the ancient
Making the
times.
bread and
Yes.
kneading.
So it's like we need strong muscles. We need to be strong. And that's another important factor of strength training, especially at that age, because that's when your back starts going out. If your core is strong, like,
That's good, Ruth.
yeah,
Mhm,
if you're those strong muscles are what keep you from
mhm.
injuring yourself, and you
Yeah.
need the collagen to help coat that. It's
Yeah.
like your little elasticity to help
Yeah.
the joints and everything.
So what I was asking her before, I want to take it beyond at our age,
Mm-hmm.
for those that are listening to me or watching me. If I'm gonna give you my story through COVID. So like I said, I can put my head on my knees and all that. Well, then it became this, little by little, I started stiffening and I'm thinking, why am I stiffening? Oh, I'm just not moving as much. And then you just want to push it and say, well, no, I used to do this, so I'm going to do it.
Jump
And
right back
then-
in.
Yeah. And what ends up happening, then you injure yourself. It goes like that. But this is what happens. A person that is, has good elasticity, flexibility, and can do, a lot of things. I can do a split and that whole 9 yards. So if you can do all that and then all of a sudden you stop, then all your ligaments and your and your tendons too, because what happens is that is like the last place where oxygen goes to.
Mm-hmm.
So the oxygen, if you're taking very little exercise and that you need that oxygen in your body, then that is the last place where it will go because your other organs need it more.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little triage that your body does so that the cartilage is the last one, tendons too. So those tend to get stiffened without blood flow. So the more you get stiffened, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I can't bend as much.
Mm-hmm.
So then I stop moving and I don't do anything. I just eat, go to bed, work, eat, go to bed, work, and do nothing else. Then what happens is from the chair, then I get my legs, you start having cramps and things like that. And then your knees are going to start bothering you, or your ankles are going to start bothering you.
Painful.
Yeah. And the more you get stiff, and then you can't do this because it hurts. You can't do that because by the time you realize, then you go into, I'm not moving. And then you can end up in a wheelchair. And like, I'm just, unless you move me somewhere, I'm just not moving, because you go to a store and you literally get on those little carts because it hurts to move. Your toes start not getting enough oxygenation and movement, and then your feet start hurting. And when you see our elderly, they say, I just don't feel like it. I'm just so tired. And then they don't even want to sit down. Then they're laying back and they're in bed. And then it just goes like
Slow
that
progression, yeah.
slowly. I'm not talking this happens in a week.
Mm-mm.
I'm talking through the years. Things can slow down like that. And then you have no desire to do anything else. And then,
And then
life.
your brain starts to dwindle.
Yep. And I want to share this. I'm gonna,
Because we're at 2:50.
yeah, my screen. Can I actually share my screen or,
Yeah, it says share screen right
okay,
there, but I don't know.
yeah, let me see. Yes, we can. Okay, so here
Can y'all
is-
see that?
Can you guys see it?
Okay.
Okay, awesome. So this is from Dr. Amen, Daniel Amen, and it is, and I just deleted some things. It just give,
Yeah,
it's
I
a,
wouldn't recommend that either.
right. Just eat the meat and spit out the bones. Remember
Yeah.
I said at the
Yeah,
beginning?
yeah.
So these are strategies to keep your brains young. So this is actually the 13th day exercise. Choose one of the following strategies to start your day. And this is very simple. Okay, limit your charred meats. We like to blacken it, and that's toxic. Get your ferritin levels checked. Donate blood if ferritin is too high. Try a daily 12 to 16 hour fast. When we hear that, it's like, what? That's a lot of time without eating. No, it isn't. If you had dinner at 6 and the next morning at 6, you have fasted for 12 hours and you were sleeping, you didn't even know it, you did it. And let's say that you don't eat at 6, you may have breakfast at 8 o'clock in the morning. You just did 16-hour fasting. Woohoo! And let's say you don't eat at 8. You decide, you know what? I'm just going to have a brunch at 10 o'clock in the morning or 11. You just did 18-hour fast, which is awesome. So when autophagy happens in that time, because your body's saying, okay, you have deprived me of food all this time, I need calories. So they start eating up all the things that don't need to be there. And it's not that bad. Some people don't even wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning. You may wake up at 8 o'clock already or 9, and there you have it. It's a healthy way of living. That means you eat at 6 and you don't eat anything until the next morning, not midnight snacks and all that stuff. That's really what gets us in trouble. Of course, we'll skip number 6, the number of the beast.
Lord, that's hilarious. You can make that up.
I know, although acetylcholine rich foods are good for you. Just
There's other ones other than shrimp.
right, skip the shrimp. And stay connected, such volunteering, that's so important.
Community.
Love yourself, love your neighbor as yourself. We're doing all this to love ourselves, but we need to love our neighbor too. Music training, that will be awesome. And start a daily practice of learning something new. So I'm going to show you here, let me move this out of the way. You can see the prefrontal cortex right here in your front is where language games, you can, do that one a day, just pick one. If you want to choose to work on your prefrontal, you can do that. You can do Scrabble, words with friends, crossword puzzles, speech debates, etc. You can read it there, take a picture, and you can have it. Now, let's say you want to deal with your parietal lobe, is right up here by your crown, and that will be math games like Sudoku or juggling occipital lobes and cerebellum, like golf, even for novices. I don't know. Well, yeah, I was just going to say something locally, but you're not here. Okay, map reading without a GPS device. What a novel idea. I can't get anywhere now without my GPS. You have the basal ganglia, which is in the middle of your brain. And you have balancing, synchronizing arms and legs movements, and manipulating props like ropes or balls. Like she was saying, you grab the ball, you put it on your feet, you bring it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're not aerobics exercises. It's just that you're taking care of your basal ganglia there. You can use your temporal lobes, which is each side of your above your ears. You can do memory games, memorization of poetry. Let's memorize the word. That would be awesome. Increase your hippocampal size. Cerebellum, as I mentioned before, is right back here. It's the part with your motor. The motricity comes from. So coordination games like table tennis is excellent for you. Ping pong, yes. Dancing, awesome. Stretching. Tai Chi and basketball. So anything that you have eye and hand coordination.
A perfect
And
balance.
that is a way. So here you have like the new one new things I'm learning today and what part of my brain I'm exercising. That is just a great way to get your brain. If you do this with your kids, you can help them. Today, we're going to work on our basal ganglia and we're working on this, so it's just a good thing for your, for teaching them at home, even if they go to school. This is something good for them. So that is that.
And you can stop the recording. Nancy.
And we did it. Yay!